I'm going to teach you something today that took me 37 years to fully understand. I have been selling from the age of 15, and I'm going to teach you the key 7 things that you need to know to be a successful salesperson. It doesn't matter if you're an introvert or an extrovert, you need this skill. The first thing I'm going to teach you might be obvious, but it's be authentic. Now, in a world of AI where everything's becoming a little bit unreal, the way you're going to win is by being you. And this means when you're taught sales, the important thing to not change is you. And whatever your personality is, keep it. I'm going to give you a formula for selling, but it's not a script. Selling ultimately is a relationship between me and you, but it should not be a fake process. Real successful salespeople like me, we are ourselves. I see social media stuff where people are jumping on the phone, hey, buy this, buy that, do this. No, it's not long-term good because that person is not being themselves, and that means they won't ever build a relationship with the person that they're selling to. So you have to dig deep and learn to be you, not what you've been programmed to do at school, sit down, shut up, don't do this, don't do that. Be you, whatever that is, you've got to discover that. And that's one of the key things in sales. People want to buy from people, especially as AI takes over. That's going to be more prevalent than ever. You have to be you. The second thing I want to teach you is you have to sell something you believe in. So many people think they can't sell because they have this idea in their head that they're going to sell, for example, a second-hand car or some coffee they don't like. The key is selling something you really believe in. And in the 19 businesses that I built, I see this play out in so many ways. For example, one of my previous companies, a company called Fluid, which I sold for more money than I'll ever need to PricewaterhouseCoopers. That whole process of selling that business wasn't even really me. It all started with my accountant. Now, one thing I did is I made the accountant fully understand what our business did. And our business, Fluid, would help people that were struggling in business be successful, and they'd pay us a fee to do it. And so I would share this with the accountant, the front end story of how we made the client happy, and then she'd see on the accounts how we turned that brand around and made it successful. And then one day, my accountant is having lunch with other CFOs, and she's proudly talking about how Fluid has helped all these businesses succeed. And one of the people sitting at the table is another accountant from PwC and CFO of a brand that needed help turning themselves around. So what do I get next day? I get a phone call from the brand that wants help because my accountant mentioned what we do at lunch. So sales, again, is not about selling anything. It's about selling something that you believe in. And my accountant believed in what we were doing. She wasn't hired as a salesperson. If I told her she was going to do sales in the interview process, she probably wouldn't have taken the job because she was an introvert. She doesn't want to be selling. But sales isn't about selling something you don't love or don't believe in. It's simply telling a story, sharing what you're doing. People want to make sales so complicated. It's not. Explain what the product does for people. Not what the product is, what the product does for people. And that is just storytelling, and anyone can do it if you believe in what you're selling. The third thing I want to teach you is systems. Now, I'm personally not a person who likes systems. I love being free. I don't want to follow a system. But in sales, I see it as a useful way of framing how I run my process. For example, when it comes to sales, the most important thing is that you remember the details about the person you're selling to. Everybody can sell anything to anyone. There's just 3 key steps to it. First is, does the person like you and do you like the person? If you like each other when you're selling, the second step is, do you need each other? There's no point in selling someone a pen when they don't need it. If you get I like and I need right, the third step is pricing. I've interviewed over 10,000 people on the streets and asked them their dream. And when I get to their dream and they tell me their pricing, I always notice, especially if you're a photographer or an artist, how undervalued you make yourself. And it's a big mistake. General rule of thumb with pricing is the person doing the work should never price it. So for example, when I started Fluid, my creative agency, my wife Helen, she wasn't my wife when we started the business, we were just business partners and we fell in love. But she basically would do the design work. And every time I asked her to give me the price for the design work, she'd look at how long it took her to do it and give a price. Whereas I looked at what the output was. What difference would it make to the company she was working for if what she did worked? So we worked on projects like helping CNN go global. It's not about the amount of time that Helen spent creating the materials to make that happen. It's about the output of the work done. So when I was pricing it, I wasn't pricing it on the, I want to do the work, I love doing this work, let me do it. I was pricing on like, if we do this job for you and we get it right, your business is going to be worth £10 million more next week. We want a percentage of the upside, right? So pricing generally, you want to think about it not on the amount of hours that you spend doing it, but on the value you can bring the person you're doing the work for.
So you've built the trust, shown them the value, and agreed on the right price. But when the customer finally says yes, you need to be ready to turn that yes into an actual sale. Where does the money go? How do you invoice them? And how do you keep everything organized so you look like a real business from day one? I've seen people do all the work of winning a customer only to lose momentum because they weren't ready to take the money. And that's why I recommend Tide, who are sponsoring this video. You can set up a business account quickly, send invoices and get paid without all the usual friction. Because the easier and more professional you make your payment process, the more confidence your customer has in buying from you. So if you're watching this in the UK and building a business of your own, you can get set up properly using the link below. And right now, if you sign up using the link below and use the code Simon and spend £100, you'll get £50 back.
Now there is something called price anchoring, which I think is a really interesting thing in sales. And probably the best way for me to explain this is, recently I'm raising money for one of my other companies. I want investors to come into the business, and if they put capital in, they'll help. So I sometimes raise money to bring in talent. When I'm pricing the investment round, which is like pricing any product or service, I price it at the bottom and go up. And what I mean by that is the business I'm launching, I'm pricing at £35 million, which I know sounds like a lot, but in reality, building a business these days, that's not a high valuation. But I don't tell people it's £35 million and then let them name their price and we meet in the middle. That's where people normally do it, and that's a big mistake. I say it's £35 million valuation now, and in the next 6 months, it's going to go up by a lot, double, triple. You can get in now at this low price and come in and it will go up over time. What I'm trying to get to you is like price anchoring is very important. Now, if I go in there and say it's £35 million but make me an offer and they come in and offer £20 million, then I'm basically wiping out my leverage. I want people to feel like it's a good deal. So that's why you'll see Chanel and all these big brands, £5,000 for a handbag. Do you think it cost them £5,000 to make it? No. They're anchoring it. So suddenly if you see a bag that's only £2,500 or £2,000 at one of these big brands, you're like, it's cheap. Pricing also does create an element of value. Now, I have a complete hate for free has no value, right? I make content like this, it's free for you. People that say it has no value, free content, are absolutely wrong. Are you getting value from this content? I'd love to know from you down in the comments, but I bet you are. Even though it's free to you, it has value. For example, if you're a photographer, you're charging £50 for photography. That's fine. If you're getting started, maybe you want something on your portfolio, it's absolutely fine. But remember, that customer will probably never pay more. You've got to be a bit careful where you base yourself in the market, and they'll recommend other people to you, but they'll tell them, I paid them £50. So you'll build your whole business off a low base. What I'll do if I was a photographer is I'd go to the most expensive hotel and I'd go to the concierge and say, the weddings you have booked here, I'd like to offer my services. Now, if they're booked a 5-star hotel and they've got a Rolls Royce taking them to the hotel, and suddenly if you charge £5,000 for your photography services, it's going to seem comparably reasonable because you're comparing against a 5-star hotel. And are they really going to want a cheap wedding photographer for their wedding day? Most people will actually pick a more expensive person to do certain things that are important to them than a cheap person. Cheap actually sometimes can send a signal that you can't do the work. There was an interesting story of someone that bought some shoes from a charity shop and they bought them for like £5 and then built a store that looked really cool and put them in there for £600 and they sold. Environment matters. So you need to put yourself in the right environment and make sure you build your base from someone who's going to recommend you based on your good service, what your quality offering is, not based on the fact you were cheap. It's a race to the bottom being cheap. So try to avoid it. If you're listening to this and thinking, I need more help, or I'd like to do this with other people, we're running the world's biggest business competition. And basically we're giving up to $1 million away and free help. So if this is something you're interested in, it's absolutely free. The link's down below. Join, it will be fun and we'll help you make your dream a reality. Okay, the next thing I'm going to teach you is about relationship. Now, this particular subject involves you doing a bit of soul searching about what sort of relationship you want with your clients or potential buyers. I am launching a coffee brand called Dream Brew, and when you buy it, we're using the money to fund people's dreams and help people. The link's down below. The point I'm trying to get to is that my relationship with my brand is I'm using it to fund people's dreams, your dreams. So when you're thinking about your business, you have to think about the relationship between your product and service and the consumer, and how frankly you're going to give back to them, in my opinion. Community is now the biggest opportunity in business. If you think about how to disrupt the big players, let's take Amazon or even Google, they don't have community. And the key thing when building a relationship and a community with your audience is not what can that community do for you, but what can you do for that community. You want your existing customers, for example, to recommend you. But to do that, you need to help them. You need to look after them. You need to have a relationship with them, which means you need to make yourself available or connect to the audience. That's why personal brand has become so important now. People are buying from me because they know me. They've got to know me through my community platform, Help Bank, through social media content like this, through education knowledge that I'm producing. So basically you have to do the same. And it does require a bit of effort, like any relationship. If you want to have a relationship with your friends, you need to go out with them and spend time with them. And you need to think about sales in the same way. Don't think of it, make a social media video, put it up, you get a sale, that's the end. That's why personally, Dream Brew, I'm not yet selling it in supermarkets. And that is one of the biggest things in sales that I think gets overlooked. People want the sales so badly, they're willing to sacrifice the relationship. And it should be exactly the opposite. The next thing I want to talk about is over-deliver. Whatever you promise to do more than people expect. I go to a restaurant in Hong Kong called Crystal Jade. It's one of my favorite restaurants at the airport in Hong Kong. And as soon as you sit down in this restaurant, the first thing the waiter says to you is, I'm sorry, it's going to be about a 20-minute wait. Instantly, they bring you down to have a low expectation of food coming to the table. And then nearly every single time, within 5 minutes, the food is in front of me. They've literally created a positive sales experience because they told me I wasn't going to get something. I'm happy when it came in 5 minutes, right? I was expecting it to be 30. And I think that underselling is such an underrated thing in sales. Most people are trying to optimize you to sell more. I think sell less. Think about how you can bring value to people. Think about how you can undersell, not oversell, and then over-deliver, because that will encourage them to tell people about you, that will encourage people to come back to you, and a repeat sale is much easier than a new sale, right? Build a relationship, make sure you over-deliver on everybody you sell to. And the final thing I'm going to teach you is probably the hardest thing to actually do because it can cost you some money. Basically, you need to collect data. You need to collect email addresses. Let me ask you a question. On the website you've got, have you got join my mailing list on there? Now you might be thinking, well, I've got nothing to send them. Well, you've got nobody signing up, so yeah, you've got nothing to send them. But if you don't have it on there, you've got people visiting your website, you'll never know who they are. Even with social media, I've said it before, I'll say it again, you should make sure every single video that goes out on social media actually involves people signing up to your mailing list somehow. The point I'm making is a lot of people don't collect information on their customers. They're not really spending the time to understand what their customers actually need and actually understand why they need them. One of the reasons Amazon was so successful is because Jeff Bezos asked his customer, what do you need from Amazon? And they said all this random stuff. So he started selling all this random stuff, not just books. It turns out they also need window wipers. The point is, without data collected, you're never gonna know. So whatever you can do to collect data, get an email address initially and then email them, asking them questions and bringing some value and inviting them into a community. All of the things I've taught you here today, be authentic, sell something you believe in, but collect information around the people you're trying to help so that you can help them and connect to them over the long term. I hope you got value from this today. I'm gonna give away £1,000 to someone watching this. I want you to sell me something in a video and go post it and then tag me. If you want, you can try and sell me my own book, What's Your Story? But I'm gonna pick one of you and give you £1,000. So let me know, put the link down below to the video so I can see it in the comments. Hope you enjoyed today. Thanks for listening.